Okay, we'll say okay. To be is everybody unmuted? Okay, everyone is muted, and if you go down to the bottom, you should be able to find the buttons for reactions, for putting your hand up, for wanting to come and share. Hi, everybody. So, welcome to the People Speaks Out. We're on the fourth month of 2025, and it's the 7th, Monday the 7th. So, I welcome you all this beautiful sunny day. Been very, very fortunate, haven't we, with the weather so far. So, what's going on? I ask. What's going on? I can't even find the half the buttons on this. So I'm very sorry, everybody who's just joined. But I've had to borrow a computer because mine's in repair, and it's not got all the buttons and whistles that I would normally have, like this, the gallery view and that kind of thing. It's just disappeared. So we'll just have to press on the best we possibly can. And yeah, just wanted to say it's been lovely to come back and say hi and give Rachel a break. I have been sort of up to my eyes busy. So the last time I saw you has been a beautiful spring equinox and a beautiful ceremony that I carried out with the most incredible lights that are coming through. I don't know if anyone's been noticing the light that has been going on this planet, the light codes that are coming through. But I was in my ceremony, I had a few young people, and some of the things they stated they wanted to clear were some of their addictions. And anyway, people were taking pictures, and there was a fire, and people were putting out writing on paper, or we were tying bits of string to bits of wood to say what they wanted to clear out for the spring. And there were three young people there, and they all wanted to clear out any addictions that they had. And when I got the photographs back of the circle, there was this incredible, most amazing green light, that just a huge big band of green light that streaked through the whole circle. But it went past all these young people's feet that had been wanting to clear their addictions. So I do feel as if we've got a lot of help coming in at the moment to help us. So I thought today the theme could be, what is it that you want to spring clean out of your life? Now, it may just be that you want to spring clean your house, which is obviously traditionally what we used to do. And you may want to share what you've been doing to clean out your house. And when I say the house, it's more than that. I mean, our actual bodies, clearing out um, our cellular cleansing. I look at it. And one of the things that has been really interesting is looking at fasting. And does anybody fast? Has anybody tried it? Would you like to share your experiences? It could be a water fast, or it could be just complete fasting on all levels. And how did you find it? And did you have what the benefits? Um, because obviously, with cleansing, it's a very powerful tool for weight loss, but also for optimizing your hormones and for clearing out dead cells. So after I think it's 17 hours of fasting, the body starts to go into a process where it starts to think, oh, no food's coming. I better make the most of what I've got and clear out all the old cells. Any ones that are loitering with cancer or anything like that, clear it out. So I recommend and having a cleanse at some stage over the next few months, maybe the next few weeks, and seeing how you feel. It's also a cleansing of the mind, isn't it? What do we need? What do we feel we'd like need to let go of in the mind? What have you noticed? Any thoughts that are coming in that have been maybe negative, or maybe weighing you down, or focusing on more what's going on in a more negative terms? And maybe you need to focus on more positive things in our lives and how we move forward. So that's another thing to think about. Are any of you going through a need for clearing out? So that's one of my themes today. And I've got these beautiful cards called the Wildwood Tarot, if any can see them. They're all connected to nature and the woodland animals and the influences from nature that we receive. And I asked for a card that I could pick out today. And maybe whilst we're all settling in, I'm a little bit discombobulated because this computer isn't really up to scratch, but it's the only thing I could find that we could use. So please bear with me that we haven't got the normal bells and whistles that we'd have if we were on my original computer, or in fact, Rachel's. So I picked this card, And it was quite interesting because it was the nine. It's called the Nine of Bows, and it's about respect. And so I can see that sort of fearsome creature from the woods. And I'll read you what it says, and you may be able to relate to this. But I love these woodland cards because I love nature. I love spending time in nature, and they're all about that. So the description of this is a wild and fearsome. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a wadwose. Has anybody heard of a wadwose? That's what that creature is. Um, so the wild and fearsome woodwose of the forest crosses your path, brandishing a rough-hewn bow. The wadwose is linked to many ancient, worldwide legends of large and hairy wildmen of the forest. Is that what you feel you need to tune into? Your wild woman or your wild one of the forest? He challenges our dedication and courage to continue along a chosen path. So, how dedicated are you? And the meaning is when nearing the heart of a sacred quest, motivation and integrity of human desires, they're challenged. Ancient wisdom demands the seeker be humble and forgiving. Respect for others and for the environment is required to proceed along the path of enlightenment. There is no completion without overcoming the challenge. So, are any of you going through any challenges that maybe need to be supported around? Um, I mean, everyone's finding challenges at different times. Do you find life challenging? I find what I was looking at and thinking, who's constructed this idea where we all go to work 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, for about 50, 60 years of our lives. And so we sort of give up 5 days of our life. And not everybody, but a lot of people do 5 years of their life in order to get the 2 days off, or maybe a couple of weeks holiday throughout the year, where they can go away and really enjoy, where you can go away and really enjoy yourselves. But actually, we've sold ourselves out because on the 2 days you have off, you have to do all the things that you couldn't do on the 5 days that you've been working. So it feels as if we've been squashed into this box or been forced, enslaved. So I don't know if any of you felt enslaved, and some of you may be retired. How do you feel about not working anymore? Do you feel it's a relief? It's a shedding of burdens off the shoulders? So it's just about questioning who created this world for us, who created this system where we're working all the time, and are we aligned with it? Are we happy with it? Would we like to change it? And if so, have you got any ideas of how you'd like it to be? So we've got cleansing. Do anyone feel they need a cleanse, a clearing out of the mind? And what is that? Or a clearing out of the body? Do you feel that we're going through a massive cleanse on a much bigger level on the planet? Um, so these are things. And also, are you tuning into your intuition? Who uses their intuition? It's like your soul's guidance. Do you listen to it or do you ignore it? We often feel as if we like to be tuned into the source of all power and all wisdom, um, but very often the lower aspects of us cut it off and don't really pay attention to it. So, do any of you have any experiences of following intuition, and did it lead you to a good place? And can you trust it? So it's I'm opening up any areas that we can talk about today that are poignant to you. And we can also enjoy and have a bit of fun as well because as spring is here, it feels like there's a lightening in our step. Or the days and the light is coming pouring through, and it sort of recharges your batteries. We are electromagnetic beings, so how do we recharge ourselves? Um, do you need to lie in the sun to sort of like be plugged in? If you think about all the devices that we use, they all need plugging in, charging. So how do you charge yourself up? How do you feel more energized? What do you do? So it's like, can you share some of your wisdom and some of your guidance to each other today, and also for the people that are watching, will be watching this later. So I'd be really interested to hear from any of you. And if you go down to the bottom, there are reactions, and if you click on reactions, it'll say um, raise a hand or smile or send a heart. So what is it that you would like to share today? And oh, it's all going funny on me now. So just bear with the technical issues that we've got here, and we'll see if we can move through them. So we've got some lovely hands up already. Thank you so much. It's beautiful to see you all, especially JG. You're outside in the sunshine. You're managing to have a look. I would say as well, and obviously you're trying to protect your eyes from the sun. But it is actually very important to take off our glasses and to allow ourselves for the light to come in, because there's information coming through on the light codes that need to get bypass the sunglasses. So we'll have a little think about that and we'll share. It would be great to hear your views on it. So we'll come over to the screen's a little bit small and your name is missing, but you're at the top of the screen now. So I'm going to ask you to unmute on the left-hand screen at the top. But because the screen shrunk, I can't see half of you. But who would like to go next? If you'd like to put your hand up. And so the first person to unmute can be the next person to speak, because I can't see your... All I've
Eileen.
got is the last bit of your name, which is Min.
Eileen. Oh,
Yeah.
Eileen. Well,
Yeah,
Eileen
I think
is
so.
third along.
Oh,
Well, please speak forth, Eileen. It doesn't matter. Unmute yourself. You all get a chance to speak.
I'm
So please don't
unmuted.
hold back.
I
You're
am
unmuted.
unmuted.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you again for holding this lovely meeting. The people speak out. I wasn't going to say anything, as often is the case each week, fortnight. I think, no, I'll just listen. But you've pressed my buttons with your 5-day a week and 2 days at the weekend. Many people would absolutely love to have that. You know, this is a privilege. How many people out there are just having 5-day week, not having to week, you know, almost 7 days, 12-hour shifts? I mean, I go back to the 50s and 60s. Well, I tell you, it was a different world. It was a different world. It was 9 to 5, 1 hour lunch, and you know, it was just so different. And if you think back to Victorian times, go further back in times, with the poverty and everything and the exploitation. I mean, it's going back now. It's going back. We're losing a lot of our freedoms. People are being exploited. And, you know, but all these things like our sort of quality of life was brought about, I think, by the unions and the power of unions. So that's, I said, you press the button. So just think, I've watched these old films on the television. What's the one that's oh dear, I've forgotten her name now. I should have written it down to remind me. Anyway, a lot of them they go back and like Dickensian films, you know, we see the Dickens
Yes.
films and everything, you know, how life was for the poor. So I think for many of it, I'm retired now. I'm housebound at the moment, but yeah, I'm retired. You know, I mean, I think I've lived a very privileged life, to be honest. And I just see things now going back. You know, our freedoms are being taken away from us. And it's getting where if you don't earn much money, you're more in their control, you know. And when they want to bring in conscription, it'll be the alternative to having no money or something. You know, it's going back. Something nasty is happening. But, you know, for many of us, it was a very privileged time. So I just said my piece.
Well, Eileen, so I'm not quite sure whether you think it's better now than it was. Is that what you're saying? You think we've got a
It
better
is
work?
better. It is still better. It is still better. But our freedoms and way of life, working conditions, everything is just being taken away. You don't notice it, but as young people come into the workplace, you know, unless they've got a degree and everything, good jobs, we're losing a lot of our freedom. It's being taken away. And young people are being grown up in a sort of a world which is alien to me, but it would be natural to them. It's like all the, you know, the artificial intelligence, all the modern technology and everything. It has, as I said last time, it has a very positive side, the yin and the yang, but a very negative side, you see. I mean, the criminals and the crimes that can be brought about by all the modern technology is far worse than anything in the past. You know, so I just feel that things are still good, but at the same time, there's a lot of nasty things out there. And those that are affected by that nastiness, I'm not, but you know, but those that are, life is not 9 to 5, 5-day week. Again, people falling behind their rent, mortgages, you know, there's so much going on. A lot of people are not happy.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, you'll probably remember, Eileen, a program called Tomorrow's World.
Yeah.
Now, I remember them telling us in the 70s, by the time we got to the year to, you know, the change of the century, that we would no longer be working because everything would be taken over by robots, and we'd have loads of leisure time. So they were building lots of leisure centres everywhere because people were going to have so much more leisure time. And even though we've got loads of mod cons, with the washing machines where people used to do it by hand, dishwashers, all the Hoovers, the technological
Mm,
improvements that help give us more time. It seems like
yeah,
people have less time. And I
yeah,
don't understand why. Maybe somebody could explain why we've got less
yeah,
time and we've got more things to help us in
yeah,
technology.
yeah,
And whether it's we're spending more time on
yeah,
screens or caught up with more, probably television used to finish,
yeah,
didn't it, at about 11:30, 12.
yes,
And then they
yeah,
used to picture this girl, and then
yeah,
then the national anthem used to play, and you knew that was your lot.
yeah,
It would be,
yeah,
and then the TV would be over, and that would be about probably 11:45 or something. And
yeah.
now it goes on all night and all day. So I'm just wondering where this extra time that we're supposed to have gained and all this leisure time that we have
Mm.
has gone. So if anybody could put and shed light on that, it would be really interesting to
Well,
hear
I
your.
think what's happening, they've got the leisure time, but not the money to go with it. The people that are losing their jobs because of all this modern technology, the people that are going to be out of work and everything, they won't have the money. They have their, what is it they're bringing in? A living, what is it? Not living wage, no, is it? There's something they're bringing in, isn't there? I have to write all this down.
Well, I think it's called universal credit.
That's it, universal living, yeah, whatever. You'll own nothing and you will be happy.
Well, do you
That's
know
actually on a
what?
billboard.
What's the great interesting thing is that Klaus Schwab, who was the
Mm,
CEO, because I call it a
mm,
corporation, the
yeah.
CEO of the World Health Organization, he stepped down. Did everybody know that?
Yeah, he's retired, but then he's just a body,
The
isn't
bug
he?
man, he's
Yeah,
gone, but
yeah.
we think there's going to be well, there is going to be a replacement. And
Oh
anybody have
yeah.
a guess who that might be?
I think Tony
Steve
Blair's
thinks
up for it.
it's spot on. Apparently, Tony Blair, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corrine. So yes, I'm not sure. It's not any improvement really, apart from maybe the accent, because he seemed like a character out of the James Bond movie, didn't he, Klaus Shaw?
Yeah.
So it was I couldn't really take him seriously with that voice because it did sound like he was
Mm,
a
yeah.
character. And apparently, people are just being characters. They're
Yeah.
they're actors that play parts,
Yeah.
and like a soap opera, they get killed off now and again.
Mm,
But apparently, they just change mask and they become another character. So it'll be interesting to see what people have to say about that.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
well, thank you very much, Eileen. Obviously, you're
Thank
very
you.
welcome if your button gets pressed again, please feel free to unmute and come and speak. And is it Charmaine or Charmin? I can't. Honestly, everything's been cut off, so it's very difficult. If I can try and widen the, um, I can't get a wider screen at the moment. So we've got Roger, who's got his hands up. We've got Rachel. We've got JG, and then there is I can't see it. So your name ended MIN. Jasmine, is it? Karine, I'm not sure. Yes, could you unmute yourself because you're on
Admin.
next? Thank you.
Admin.
Do you want to admin? Yeah. So
You
is it
can
got
hear
is
me
it
now, can
admin?
you? Yeah.
That's probably why I can't read it properly. It just says
No,
min
but
on the end.
it's Val, but yeah, I'm on a different.
Would you
I'm
like me
on my
to,
computer
want
instead
me
of
to
instead of the tablet. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to speak to really is I'm feeling like I'm in a very privileged position now because I'm retired. Have been for a couple of years now. But prior to that, I was a bit of a rushing around, trying to prove myself people pleaser. Um, and also, we were quite hard up as well. But now I'm retired and my husband's getting a pension too. And so we feel in a really abundant position now. And also, I think I've found out in the last few years that, or I believe anyway, that my attitude towards life and the people around me and what's going on colors the world that I live in. So, and what I've been reflecting on is when I was a child and I grew up in the 60s and early 70s, we didn't have a lot of television. We did have the radio, but that was only on very limited time in the evening. So, and I was a farmer's child. So, my days, on the good days anyway, especially days like wonderful sunny days like we've got now, I would go in the house and go, well, what shall I do? You know, I can go for a walk, I can read, I can paint, I can draw, I can play the piano, I can, you know, and there was all these options open to me. And because I've always been very creative, that was how my life was a lot of the time. And what I'm feeling now is like it's kind of come full circle. And I'm retired. I can sit there and go, what should I do today? You know, it's my choice really. And I feel like there's lots of creativity out there. I feel, and that's perhaps I'm drawing that to myself, you know. There's lots of creative stuff to be explored. I feel like there's infinite stuff out there, and I want to involve other people in it. Or
Oh, yes.
and that feels like a really lovely thing to do. I've got the time and space now, and a little bit of money, so I feel like I've kind of gone full circle, and it's wonderful, and I'm feeling really good about it. Um, and that's how my world seems to be. I mean, I don't tend to look at mainstream media, and if anything, if I go on to say Instagram, all I'm finding is more creative people doing fantastic things that get me excited and want to do it myself. So it feels very positive to me. I know there's loads of crap going on out there, but I don't give it much of my time or attention because I feel like it's adding to it, and I don't want to moan or be miserable because I want to get on with exciting stuff I love doing, and stuff maybe other people like doing too. So that feels very good to me at the moment. So
Well, that's
that's really
great
all
to
I
hear.
wanted to say.
Do you feel that you appreciate your retirement more because you did have to work?
Yeah. Yeah, there were many years where I have done lots of creative stuff in my work, but I've also had times where I had to work at jobs I absolutely hated because my attitude was came from fear that I had to survive somehow, and we had a mortgage at the time, so we had to work. And I don't think any experience is wasted. Um, so I learned a lot from it, but I also learned what I don't like doing. And I
Well,
love
yes.
being self-employed, or I used to be self-employed, and that was always much better for me. But
And what do
yeah,
you
I mean,
do? What
it all adds to your life experience. But um, yeah, it hasn't made me bitter or twisted. I just think, oh well, you know, that's
That's good.
gone. Moving on.
What did you do as a self-employed? What self-employment were you
Well,
working
I've
in?
done various jobs actually. I was when I was first. I'm trying to think back. I had a business in the 80s, selling doing fancy dress costumes and theatre costumes in Birmingham. So that was a big experience, especially for young women in the 80s, as you can imagine.
Yes,
Um, and then I've also I was also trained to be a sacred clown, which is a Tao of clowning.
oh,
So I did that
wow.
for about 10 years, 8 to 10 years. And then I taught belly dancing for 15 years. So I was a dancer, and then I worked for MenCap for a short while, and then I retired. So yeah, so lots of
Very
performance.
diverse and interesting
Yeah,
area.
always connected to theatre and creativity one way or another. Yeah. So
Do you engage? I've just been talking to some of my friends I haven't seen for a while, and they're all in the sort of 60s now, but
mm,
still working. But even so, they were all telling me they feel really isolated and really alone if they're not with a partner. I know you said
right,
you're with a partner, so I'm
yeah.
just wondering whether there's people in your community that you would go out or you could create a space for to do art together or to do
Well,
creative things together. Is there a desire for it? Do you think?
up until recently, the warm hubs. I don't know whether they exist elsewhere, but in Warwickshire we had a lot of warm hubs, which came out of the fact that people were struggling to pay bills. But basically, a lot of community centres and places around the area had warm hubs where people could go and gather, and they could do all sorts of activities. And I was doing craft activities with them, and that was lovely because people who didn't consider themselves to be artistic at all would turn up and say, "Oh, I'll have a go," and that was so lovely. I loved seeing people
Mm.
discovering their creativity and trying the things that I was offering to them. And I also work with children a little bit as well in similar sort of settings. And that made me feel I'm really excited. I love sharing stuff I've done, but I love seeing what people do with the ideas I've got. I love to see them run with and take the ideas and develop them in a way perhaps I wouldn't have dreamed of, and that I find really exciting.
That's wonderful. I'm saying your name wasn't down at the bottom, so just remind me of your name again.
My real name is Val Rainbow.
Val Rainbow. I love
And that's
that. It was a
my
cool name.
maiden name. Yeah, I've kept the rainbow because it was so lovely.
So we've got a rainbow, we've got a love on here, so it's lovely. We've got a manners, good manners, Roger Manners. I just
I
love
often say that names are a job description.
oh dear, mine's Bullock. What does that? Where does that leave me? Plowing the fields and scattering by the sounds of it. So it's
Well,
lovely.
that could be an indicator of you and your personality, maybe, Seth.
Yes, probably. I could do with yeah, I think you're right. I do get chased a lot by cows, and I turn around and say, "Look, I don't eat you, and I am one of you. So can you leave me?" Apparently, if a load of herds of cows are chasing after you, just turn around and stand your ground and make yourself as
Oh
big as
yeah.
possible, which is what I did. But when you've got hurtling cattle coming towards you, it's a bit of a scary. But it's
Well,
sort of
yeah.
standing me in good stead for having to deal with all the authorities that are coming at me right now.
Well,
But
yeah. I mean,
it's all
as a farmer's daughter, cows don't scare me. But actually, if they gather around you and then you suddenly move quickly towards them, they'll run away. So maybe that's something to do with what you were saying. If people gang up on you, and cows are like bullies. They're frightened of you as much as you're frightened of them.
I think so. They're very curious, aren't they? They're really lovely, and they love. When I remember doing some sounds, going out into the countryside or just up the road from me, actually, and sounding, and all the cows used to come running over. So they're very
Yeah.
interested in in sound therapy, which is always good to know. So just interested, though. Thank you for sharing that, Val, because I was always interested to see if people weren't working, if they didn't have to work, if we had enough sustenance or enough to provide for your everyday needs and whatever you needed, would people choose to work? So if there's a quantum reset, for example, financial quantum reset, and
Interesting.
everyone's given an income and they don't have to work, what do you think would happen to the our current paradigm of people, driving the buses, collecting the rubbish, working in the hospitals? What do you think would happen? Do you think if everybody would have enough money, they'd all dump their jobs? I don't know. What do you feel?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple of different ways of looking at it, perhaps. Or one idea I had is that you have people who make their passion into work, although that's a bit of a double-edged sword, and so then you're doing the thing you love every day and earning money from it.
mm,
But I've also got friends who have a passion, but they work in other jobs to pay for their passion, so to speak. So,
yes.
they don't care what they do really, as long as it fuels the passion. And I think that's equally valid as well.
Yes,
Um,
that's a good idea. To work your passion. But I'm just wondering how many people's passions would be to collect the rubbish or to clean
but
out.
I think, I mean, I'm not one of them, but there are people out there who love cleaning and love tidying up, and
Well, I suppose there, yeah, I suppose there is. Let's ask anybody out here whose passion is cleaning and tidying up. And
yeah,
talking
I'd
going
like to
back to
know
spring.
a few of them if there's anyone out there.
Oh, well, lovely. Thank you for your share, Val. Really appreciate
Pleasure.
that. It's good to find out a little bit about what people actually have done in their lives and what they're sort of enjoying right now in their sort of more freer era. So thank you very much, Val. Obviously, you're very welcome to come back in. And we'll just go over to Corinne's next on my screen. So, Corrine, welcome. No, you haven't got your hand up. You're on to a mute. I can't hear you, my darling. Because
Hi, I just feel a bit bad because I've only just put my hand up and Rachel has had her hand up.
you've
Anyway,
come straight to the top of the screen. So, do you
sorry,
want me to come back to you in a minute?
well, I was only going to be able to breathe, so I'll be super brief. I wasn't sure I could talk because I've had this throat infection, so I end up coughing. So
Sorry to hear that.
Everyone wants a challenge. Yes, I'm very challenged. and also my eyes. I'm getting a lot of blurriness. It's been checked, but I have to wear sunglasses. Yeah, in terms of interest, I think I shared a couple of weeks ago, I had this amazing download of life and the quality of Mother Mary.
Corinne, sorry to interrupt, but I'm having difficulty hearing you. Don't know if anybody else is.
I've got this Bluetooth
Maybe-
on so I can hear when people.
That's it. I can hear you now.
Sorry, I'm taking up longer. Okay, ever so briefly.
It's okay.
Yes, yeah, no, so I'm challenged with my throat, so I might not be able to speak for very long. Yeah, I was just saying on the intuition, ever since I've had this download of Mary at that sacred site a couple of weeks ago, I've felt, I don't know, it feels like it's an energy or a quality that I just can call on. So when I was really struggling to breathe and couldn't swallow and feeling slightly freaked out, I could call on that and know that all would be well. And just a very quick thing, yesterday there was this tiny little bee in the kitchen, tiddly little thing, or a tiddly wasp. I think it was a baby bee. And, I was trying to catch it. It was bat, 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 bat all around the kitchen ceiling. I'm going, okay. And I was with my glass and I said, look, I'm trying to help you. It flew straight down into the glass, put a little thing on it, took it outside. And I had the same thing in the polytunnel yesterday. This bee, and they're always trying to get out the polytunnel because they don't realize how they came in. And the same thing. And I just thought, life is full of miracles. And actually, really, my main solace is sowing seeds and just being with nature, chanting to the seeds as I sow them, and just holding to the best. And just very quickly following on from Eileen, or something about our simpler lives when we were younger. Well, I saw an interesting clip from a teacher. And she said, actually, one of the things she finds is that the children don't get bored anymore. They don't have time to be bored. They're so overstimulated that, like when we were kids, I was never bored because you could go and, I don't know, kick a pebble in a stream or go and talk to a flower or, like it didn't kind of occur to us. We had to be kept occupied. Anyway, that's it. Oh, and just finally, I'm totally inspired by Greg Braddon. He's amazing, amazing videos. You can even get them on YouTube. And that's it. I'm going to love you and leave you and let people who've had their hands up for a lot longer than me speak.
Well, Corinne, thank you for sharing, and I hope your voice gets better. I don't know exactly what's wrong with it, but I always say Celtic salt, warm Celtic salt, gargling with that really helps the clear out the throat, and maybe some fasting as well, Corinne. See how you feel about that, because it is that time. You've gone very quiet now. You've unmuted yourself, but thank you for sharing, even despite your disability temporarily, anyway. So thank you for that. I'm going to move over to Roger now. Roger, you've been very patient. The things aren't coming up on my screen in order, so I'm very sorry if you've been waiting longer and other people seem to be jumping in before you, but it's not their fault, it's mine. It's just the computer's just moving everyone around all the time. It's got a mind of its own. Even though I did shut off AI, so I don't know how it seems to be operating. Roger, have you unmuted yourself? Let me be lovely to see you. How are you doing?
Yes, I have. And firstly, I want to thank you for hosting the meeting. Thank you, Sas.
Oh, you're welcome.
And my reason for wanting to speak is I want to make people aware of the English Constitution Party. And they have a website, which is the English Constitution, EnglishConstitutionParty.com. And that's all one word, really, if you like to call it that, one expression anyway. And why I want to inform people of that is because the chairman of that party, and it is a political party, is a man called Graham Moore, and Moore is spelt with an E on the end, and he is contesting the by-election in Runcorn, which will be on the 1st of May. Now, why is this important? Well, I'll tell you why it's important. because I went to court recently and I protested against not being able to have a trial by a jury instead of being called there to their court.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
why is this important? I'll tell you. Well, their courts are under the aegis of the UK Corporation Limited. And the constitution which protects me is the English constitution. It's not the UK Limited. That's something separate. Somehow, by sleight of hand, we've all been put under the jurisdiction of legislation which is decreed by the UK Corporation Limited. Somehow, I don't know how it's happened. It's sleight of hand. And so therefore, when I went to court and protested against having to be in their court, and I stated I didn't consent to their jurisdiction, of course, the magistrates, and if there was a judge there, and I don't know if there was or not, I just saw people there. Anyway, they are guided by legislation, and it seems to me that England, as an independent country, doesn't exist. They certainly don't follow the constitution of England. And the Constitution of England is expressed by the English Constitution Party. And if anybody wants to get more information about the English Constitution, they should visit that website, and I'll put that in the chat. But it's really quite simple. EnglishConstitutionParty.com. So if you email that address, you can ask for all the literature about the English Constitution, because that's what protects us. And I wasn't protected in the court that I attended, because the magistrates were taking guidance from legislation which is decreed by the UK Corporation Limited. So there's no way that I'm going to be protected by the English Constitution. And I'm complaining about this. I'm going through the complaint process. Sorry, did you want to say anything?
Well, no, I was just going to say, because I was reading about that on the People's Lawyer, about the Bill of Rights in 1688. It says there are to be no fines or forfeitures without a conviction of a jury of your peers. Anyone trying to fine you without a jury conviction are guilty of contempt of court and face 5 years in prison.
Yeah, well, that's correct, but that's not what the magistrates in the courts are complying with, and that's why I want to make it clear that and people think we don't have a constitution. Well, they think we don't have a constitution because the United Kingdom itself does not have a constitution, but and we're part of the United Kingdom. How on earth that happened, I don't know. But I'm trying to find out by conversing, electronically with Graham Moore. And let me just reiterate, he's standing for in the Runcorn by-election on the 1st of May. So anybody who can vote for him, I would appreciate that, because we might get back to the real law of the land, which gives us the right to a trial by jury and also the right to silence. And neither of those two rights was I allowed when I went to court. In fact, all that happened when I went to court was I got a demand for a payment of £902 and was told if I didn't pay it, I could go to prison. But anyway, fortunately, people were so generous. Rachel put a call out for crowdfunding, and I got the full amount paid by my dear friends. So that I'm grateful for that. So I did pay this under duress, and I'm hoping that I can get this back, under the process that I'm going through of complaining. But anyway, that's not so important as people knowing that we do have a constitution, and Graham Moore has got a massive book, which is part of a set of volume of Halesbury's Law. So you should write to the EnglishConstitutionParty.com and get information about how to access that information. So anyway, I've gone on far too long.
It's okay, Roger. Just ask someone. Just put in what's the website, because the link wasn't working. If you the website you put in the chat.
I haven't put anything in the chat yet.
Oh, well, maybe that was somebody else. Somebody just I can't access the chat right now because it's so down. The screen's not big enough. Roger, what I was going to say is, do you think that's because we've been when you have a birth certificate, you're interacting with the jurisdiction of the corporation, the UK corporation, as opposed to being on the land as a man or woman of living on the soil, living on England. Because one of the things, you can't live inside a country, can you? So they call it I live in the UK, but you're living inside the jurisdiction of a corporation. So that is why the constitution is, if you're a living man and woman on the soil and you've declared yourself and step out of the jurisdiction and declare yourself free from it and living in the private, I think that's when the constitution is upheld, and which is why these assemblies, English assemblies, have been sort of set up to be part of and running the true law and constitution on England, as opposed to the jurisdiction of the UK, which is, so if you're living in the corporation, they don't seem to follow the Bill of Rights or the Magna Carta, because they were part of the freemen of the land lawfulness, and that is being stepped out of because we're living in a corporation. That's so you've got the rules and regulations of, like, if you're working for a corporation, you have to sign a contract, an agreement that you'll follow their rules and regulations. And I suppose that's what the birth certificate does. It sort of signs you into the jurisdiction of the corporation, so you become liable under their laws, regulate all their legislations, statutes, which are a different thing altogether. So it's time to step out of the jurisdiction. That's what I feel. I don't know about anybody else, but that's what I've done.
Well, Sas, in the main, what you said is absolutely correct. And I'll explain to you about the birth certificate. They use a language called legalese. And the words that they use are English words, which are normally used to express something different from what is expressed when they're used in legalese. So when your mother registers you with the United Kingdom, then that registration means donating you, the baby, to the corporation. That means then the corporation owns that man or boy or girl, and is able to do whatever they like with that boy or girl. And so what they do is they put you under the jurisdiction of the UK corporation, which uses legislation.
Yeah.
So that's where the birth certificate comes in. And the way they differentiate, you see, what they actually do when they when they make you into, it's not actually making you into a corporation. They're creating a new entity, an absolute new entity, which is a corporation. And the way that they differentiate between you as a man or a woman, we've gone from the boy and girl stage now, the way they differentiate is to put your name in capital letters.
That's it.
And the capital letters name is that additional person. Okay, and person itself it is not what we understand it to be in terms of legalese. Anyway, so that's what happens, and there's a manual called the Boston Manual of Writing Styles, 17th edition, which states that any name which is written in capital letters is a corporation.
Yeah.
So there we are, and that's where it all comes from. And
so that's why I'm saying you have to sort of reorientate yourself back onto the land and declare, I am actually a man and woman of the land. I'm not this false character that you've created so that you can interact with me and find me and all the rest of it. Because as a woman or man of the land, you cannot be taxed, you cannot be fined, you cannot have any trial unless you've got a jury. So all of that is how they get around it, Roger.
well, that's absolutely correct.
But thank you for your contributions.
That's absolutely correct.
So we've find a way. There's more and more opportunities now for you to declare yourself out of the corporation, where you can step out of it, and many people have. It's like living in the private, and so those no longer, their statutes and their legislations don't apply to you anymore.
Well, that's
because you
right.
stepped out of the corporation. So that's the way forward for
Yeah,
us
just
to help collapse the system.
Yeah, just finally and importantly, when I went to court, I didn't go to court as a man. I went a man in my own right as an individual under the English Constitution laws or tenets, you might say. I went there as a representative of this new entity which they had created in capital letters, which was Roger Manners in capital letters. And I had to do that because if I hadn't done that, the magistrates would have just recorded me as being absent from the court, because all the correspondence that I get, including the summons to go to court, is in capital letters.
Yeah. So you represent
I stand there as an individual man. I stood there in the court as well. I didn't actually stand. I sat down actually, which they didn't really like. But anyway, I was there as the representative of the company which they had created in the name of Roger Manners in capitals. And so I think I've said enough now. I'll let you move on.
Roger, thank you as always for you stating clearly what's going on for you and how that also can affect all of us. So you're sort of showing us how we can, literally face this system as it is and how we can get circumnavigate out of it. So thank you for your share. I was going to go to JG because she keeps coming in and out. She's probably trying to hold the space. But because she's now off again, I'm going to go. Rachel, would you like to unmute yourself and share whatever it is that's coming up for you? Hi, darling.
Thanks, Sas. Yeah, I was kept putting my hand down to let others go forward. So Jade, if you want to go now, so I'd love to hear from you.
Are you there, JG?
Jade.
She keeps coming in and out. I think it's because she's outside.
Oh, hiya. No, it's not. It's not. Yeah. I just.
Hi, JG.
Hiya. I came on really just to have a connection with Corinne. Let me just sort my thing out. I'm sort of juggling work and all sorts, but yeah. Corinne, you and I had incredible experiences at Oliver's Castle. I went last weekend it might have been. So I was leading my second Bible study, so I was looking into the life of Peter. Now my childhood thing when my brother was like Peter Pan, and it's been a massive journey following that. And in terms of Sas, all the questions you've asked, it's been really so many keywords. It just brings, it's really inspiring. I could speak about so much from listening to you. Yeah, I feel like I'm doing the splits at the moment, which I believe astrologically is fine. I've got one leg going in one direction, another leg going in the other direction, and just feeling the stretch. But I think I'm trying to reconcile that I can have the two. So I have my Christianity, but I am very much of nature. So hence I'm here. So the two, but I just kind of feel there's a strange divisiveness. Like we're talking, like Roger was when he was speaking, I feel like there's a square dance. I mean, I'd learned to square dance because if I go into the mortar and the housing and the architecture that has been constructed around us, then knowing the Christianity is really great for the temperance and the trust and learning. You know, it's a construct, it's what people exist in. I can't change that. That's just how it is. People have different levels of consciousness, but I don't want to shut myself out, and I have a deep belief. But also the nature aspect, because again, it's this fighting and pitching, like, you know, one's bad, one's good. And I think, well, no, I'm learning my values and morality. So I did a test because like church always say, you know, follow God. So I thought, wow, you know, I'm trying to use my intellect to control. I'm trying to be a know-it-all because that makes me feel safe. So I just listened to the metaphor of let God take the steering wheel. So I literally did it, and he took me back to my childhood home. And I'll come to Corrine about Oliver's Castle because this happened first. So I went. My mother saved these rocks. They look like Stonehenge, and I used to look through the letterbox and see them. Because I didn't have my mother, I used to sit in them as a child, and they protected me like ancient elephants. And this lady came out of my old house. I mean, I'd followed God on this. Actually, I went to the house when me and my husband had, and it used to be a big financial area. And there was crucifixes on all the front doors, which is really strange. So I thought, well, I think I'm going in the right direction. And this lady came out of my old house, really cynical. And she was like, who are you? What are you doing? And I thought, even as a woman, the news is terrifying people. Because I thought, the mothers used to look out the kitchen windows and look over the children. So I just went up and I said, this was my old childhood home. Now, my grandmother gave me a silver rose. I thought of our Brian. And my family Gordon thing I've been tracking down, which has got a lot of Peter Pan connotations, is by Dan, is the stag. So I've been following the stag. And Harry Potter, this author, I've been learning lore via this author, Harry Potter. So I go to my old childhood home and I go into the house. And she takes me into the lounge, big family lady, and she shows me her grandson, and there's a silver rose. So I said, oh, my grandmother gave me one of those in the lounge. And then I said about, I used to sit and wait for my mother to come in, and she wasn't allowed in. I sat on the stairs disappointed. So I sit and wait. And she went, do you want to sit on the stairs? So I sat on the stairs. There was a Harry Potter towel behind me, Martin Luther. There was all these signs and sayings on the stairs. The house was full of love, a little white dog staring up at me. And my little white dog had guided me. And she said, do you want to look at your old bedroom? So I go into my old bedroom and our son's in there and he's got these shelves with 2 silver stags. And I'm like, it was just constant. It was incredible. So I just thought, am I connected to these people because they're in the space, you know, people in spaces. Is like the energy of me being there, and that space is layered up, so I'm picking up on stuff, who knows. But then I was leading Peter and the Bible, so I went up to Oliver's Castle for like perspective, and there's an amazing tree that's got this big trunk with like 12 trunks around it, like the disciples. And I found a stone in the middle with a candle. It was like silver with gold on it. It just felt so right. And I've always said to my church, because they keep nipping me on the ankles, this is the thing about people, is like they try and get me in the middle, and I'm not a middle, I'm a peripheral person. I'm a journalist, you know, I'm a bit of a wolf in how I journey. So and I'd stated my contract to them. I said, look, I'm not a shepherd, I'm not a sheep, I'm a sheepdog. So I told them outright, this is me. That was my verbal bond with how I'm going to deal with this. I'm not getting into the architecture. I've got feet on the ground on the common. I've got the Catholic and the commoner, my dad and my mother. So I'm like, well, I know who I am, but I'm not very good at avoiding the criticism, the judgment, and the nipping of the ankles, which is why I said, yeah, I'll give it to God. I'll follow this. And up at Oliver's Castle, of course, realizing Peter, the Vatican was founded on Peter, and the church was founded on Peter because he acknowledged Jesus as the Messiah. But it was the candle on the stone, because his name was Simon and he was called Peter because Peter meant the stone. So I've had this journey, these pagan stones around me near my childhood home, up at Oliver's Castle with an actual candle. And I was like, do I take it? Do I leave it? Do I take it? Do I leave it? And a voice said, no, you need to take it back to your community, which is giving me quite a lot of insights. And then as I sat there, because I had a border collie when I was a child, and it's like been really following the Gordon in me. And I've read as well that where the church was founded, there was a lot of panism, celebrated. And I thought, oh, Peter Pan, the panism and Saint Peter, which was very part of my journey. And so this border collie just appeared, and it just looked out, and I thought, yeah, that's me. I know that's who I am. And I always had a border collie. It was me and my border collie staring out over the horizon. So I've got this stone with this candle, silver and gold. And then the dog and two Dutch women came up, and they said, he's lost, and he'd run off all confused. So he was displaying the characters of Peter as a metaphor, and like his faith. Then he was out, then he was in, and passionate, a bit impulsive, had a lot to learn. I thought, yeah, I get that. But it was instinctive in me, so I whistled and called him, and the dog cowered down and came straight to me. And I thought, I'm like, because I'm like, what am I doing? Am I going to go study, or am I going to do dog walking? I love the animals and the dogs, so I'm trying to work out my direction. Can I have it all, or do I need to make a decision? Is my crossroads? I love Christian, but I love astrology. So I'm like, no, actually, I just need to listen, have sovereignty and listen. And it was interesting when you said to me, Sas, about the sunglasses, because I'm like, actually, what's my problem? And it's like, you've come along like this angel to give me to be able to say this to you, as in, like, just so I have the ability to say it, is you said about my sunglasses. And instantly I felt really angry, because I was like, and something in me was like, why do I always get unsolicited advice? And I sort of called myself down. I went, Sas is giving you an opportunity to be assertive and direct, which I can do here, but I couldn't do in my church community because the level of consciousness isn't there. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stop my studies. It just means that I'm actually building my own relationship, and I'm growing, and I'm learning that actually I have a choice. I always have a choice, and I don't have to do what people say. I don't have to take advice. It's a choice, but I have to learn the grace of saying, well, thank you very much. That's really generous to actually give a gift of advice. So that's been my thing. Is that's my situation, is like, how do I follow my own compass when it's like, okay, yeah, okay, fine, yeah, trying to be dutiful. And the story of Peter and the rock was really like a major part of that as well. So it's Oliver's Castle. It's an extraordinary place, extraordinary. With a white horse. Devizes.
Where is this Oliver's Castle?
Devizes
okay.
It's a medieval market town.
Okay.
And it's a chalk hill. The trees are quite ghostly, whether they're taking up the nutrients of the chalk. I mean, at the end of the day, law and legalese, it all began with chalk, didn't it, really? So, that's the written word and where it comes from. So, being able to use
it sounds an amazing experience, and
Mm.
I'm glad that you had this opportunity to assert yourself and to feel more assertive.
It was a real test. It was like, I was like, it was a real test, but like, this is a safe space to be able to do it. And Erin, I love Christianity, and I'm a real believer of what it's really given me so much. But I was a pagan, and I'm very holistic in astrology, and I'm like, do you know, it's this ongoing division everywhere of having to choose is absolute bullshit. Forgive me for my language, but it's like, and that's the problem with humanity. It's almost, it is about purpose, trust, and following one's one, like, I mean, like Brian used to always say, didn't he, be the best you can be? And it was like,
Stand in your
it.
power.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
JG, thank you for your contribution. I'm going to have
our
to
pleasure.
just let Rachel have the
Sure.
last word.
Yep.
We're running out of time now, but thank you so much for coming on and sharing what you've experienced and for standing in your power. I was only suggesting that we are getting information from the light codes, and sometimes the sunglasses, we wear them all the time. But obviously, you're staring into the sun, so you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. But thank you for your contribution. Rachel, would you like to have the last word? And please do come on again when we're on in a couple of weeks. Have the last word before we depart on this beautiful Monday.
Yeah, so the reason I put my hand straight up, and I've been putting it down and letting others speak, but the reason I put it straight up is because of the synchronicity of your opening, Sas, because I've literally woke up this morning having had a really vivid dream about diving into the swimming pool. And I've had like quite a strong weekend, and I just had this absolute inspiration to do a 72-hour water fast. So essentially, when I woke up, I was already 12 hours into it, and I thought, no, I'm going to keep just having water and herbal tea until Wednesday evening. And the thing that you're talking about is an autophagy. So after,
Yes.
I think it's like after 18 hours or something,
17 hours, yeah.
Autophagy sets in, which is literally the body getting rid of any abnormal cells, any cancerous cells or anything. It's a total radical healing thing. So it's so interesting that you open with that, and it's like boom, I literally woke up with that this morning of like, oh my god, I need to do a water fast. It was so clear. So
Wow.
yes.
So well, good luck with that one. Thank you for sharing that, Rachel, because it'd be interesting to hear if you could maybe share next time we're on how you felt after that, and did you feel a benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I've done them before. It's incredible, but it is just that, it's just having that discipline, like that absolute crystal clear clarity, decision, right, we're doing this. And it's like you kick a higher self kicking in. And so
And how are you managing? Are you in, I know you were up at Crestbrook, weren't you? Crestbrook Dale at the weekend. And I was just thinking of you because you're obviously coming from Devon, aren't you? Every time you come up here.
Oh, thanks for
It's a heck of
telling everyone where I live.
drive.
Thanks for telling everyone where I live.
Well, it's a big county.
Yeah, so yes, it is, but we had the most amazing weekend. It was so beautiful. I went up on Friday night, and then we spent the day at Crestbrook Dale on Saturday, and then we did stand in the park at Matlock because Bakewell merged with Matlock, and so there was a lovely crowd. Right. It was really great, and just a final thing to mention, because I am actually in court on Thursday, going back to Worcester over my speeding thing. But Dean came along, and because he's helping my brother with a similar thing. And what he was basically saying is like, essentially, a driving license is a fiction. And when you agree to a driving license, you agree to the rules and the regulations. So that's the challenge. However, the way where I'm standing in it is like the whole of the driving license is a fraud. And everything that goes with it is a fraud, because we, the people, own the public highways. And so all the legislation that's been created is completely unlawful. The driving license is completely unlawful. And the whole thing's just a racket to essentially to tax us to use the roads, because it's half £500 million a year. 5 million of us every year are being charged to use the roads. That's £500 million a year, roughly. So anyway, but my hearing on Thursday is a directions hearing, so I shall be requiring a trial by jury, because currently they've called me they said that I'm a criminal.
I know.
So there we go.
Outrageous.
But I could add lots more, but those are the two key things. Thanks for hosting. Anyway,
I want to wish you from the People Speaks Out all the very best. You're welcome. Sorry about hopefully I'll have my computer back by the next time I run this, but it was I borrowed it from a local chapel who I think they have the very basics. So I do apologise if I've not been able to conduct in my normal efficient manner. I can't even find the end button. So you're going to have.
Maybe
I think it
Sas,
automatically records actually, but I'm
maybe
not sure. So
maybe Sas, we put out an
yeah.
appeal from the People Speak Out to the database to ask people to chip in to buy you a new computer so that you can have the tools as a thank you for all of your hosting. Maybe this is a good thing. So everyone put in a 10 or 20 quid and maybe you can get like a snazzy MacBook Air, make your life simple. Just a thought.
It would make my life simple. I did try one when my daughter came to stay, and I thought, oh my God, this is like another level of life on an Apple Mac rather than an old one that's been, borrowing off Begsteen and borrowing. So, well, that's definitely a thought to put into mind if I can't get this other one working with a camera. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming on to the People Speaks Out today. I've noticed the beautiful blue skies. There's been no chemtrails for quite a few days. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. There were a few yesterday, but there's been absolutely beautiful blue. So let's keep up. Let's just keep on visualizing that everything is stopped and that they're run out of money, that geoengineering is no longer going to be affecting us, because along with the 5G and all the rest of it, which is for another conversation. But all take care of yourself. Get out in that sunshine. Let your eyes get some codes. Maybe the best time is early in the morning and as the sun is setting, to just allow a connection to the consciousness the consciousness of God through the sun, and to receive information that is activating our DNA and opening up more of our power to basically bring the demons down. Let's face it. So all the best with your trial by jury, Rachel. Please let us know how you get on. Lots of love to you all, and thank you so much for your attention and your participation. Love and freedom. Thanks, Eileen. I'm not sure. I might have to cut us off ceremoniously just by clicking the cross button, because I can't even find on this computer where it says end meeting. So we'll have to do a bit of an experiment, and if we get shut off,